6 to 8 p.m. and Fridays 6 to 7 p.m. on Power 98.7.
All right, 1933 on Power Business. As we do every single Thursday, we speak to a C-suite. We ask them to come and talk to us about their lives, their journey, and really the most important, aspects of their journey. And also making sure that we're always archiving African stories of people who have gone on to do really, really amazing things. And joining us today is Velaphi Ratshefola, the Managing Director of Coca-Cola Beverages Africa. He is on the line. Good evening, Bravi. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Hello, Nolutando. Just correction, it's Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa.
South Africa, okay.
I hope you don't ask difficult questions so that I can bring Coca-Cola 2 liter.
I'll make sure, Bravi, that I don't ask too many difficult questions. Maybe we can start with one that could be difficult. I know many people don't like it, but I must ask, who is Bravi? Where does he come from? And how does he land up at one of the world's biggest companies?
Yeah, I was born of a single parent, my mother. It was 6 of us. I was born in Soweto, but I grew most of my life in a place called Ramatlabama. It's a remote place in Mafikeng, on the border of Mafikeng and Botswana. That's where I grew up, and that I finished my matric in 1981 there, and then went on to study law, B juris at Univo, and after completing B juris, I studied LLB, and then became a public prosecutor for a year. I didn't like it, and I joined NAMPEC in the legal department. From there, SAB, and my career grew from there.
It's very interesting, Bravi. I'm keen to find out what you didn't like about law. It is a very specialized career path. I'm wondering what part of you just didn't identify with how things work there.
Look, I didn't like prosecution particularly. Two things. Firstly, the salaries were very small. And I like money.
Very fair.
Two, when you work in that criminal court situation, you just deal with negativity every day. You are happy when you've prosecuted and won the case, but it's not a pleasant environment, and I'm quite a positive person by nature. Yeah.
It's very interesting then to find out that you then move into, maybe a packaging and beverage space, one that I imagine at the time was still emerging. It's become a very big space within the continent, within the country, and also throughout the world. What made you stay here? When you got to NAMPEC, then you moved to SAP, when you found your footing, what made you think, okay, this is a place to build?
No, Tando, I think I've got a unique attribute of it. Having worked for NAMPEC and SAP API, so SAP Coke, both of them I've worked twice for them.
Interesting.
So I started at NAMPEC, went to SAP, NAMPEC came to fetch me, then SAP came to fetch
me. Interesting.
Then the then managing director said, this is the last time you are moving. You're sticking around. I think it was in March 1996. When I came back for the second time, and I've been around, and I enjoy beverages. I enjoy beverages, FMCG, the thrill of just FMCG quite excites me. And I've been given opportunities. There's been a lot of change in my career and the challenges that I faced. So I've been blessed and fulfilled.
Another interesting part, Bravi, is that you've gone on actually to win multiple awards. And so you were enjoying your career, but you were also excellent at it. So let's talk about that, coming into a sector that obviously doesn't come from your field of study. It's not what you studied, but you come in, you immerse yourself in a sector, and then you become excellent of it. What sort of, attributes did you have to apply to get to the level where you could be winning awards in the sector?
Yeah, I think the nice thing with law as a field is that it's actually very broad enough that commercial law, labor law, contract laws, all of those things you, even in corporate, you do come across those things and you deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone further to equip myself in terms of management practices, management diplomas and so forth. But the most important thing is I'm a very curious person. I do try to read and to listen to people very attentively. And throughout my career, I've traveled the world to visit other businesses, particularly in the Coke world, different continents, to learn, to see, benchmark, and bring best practices in terms of operation here at home. I mean, we've done some amazing stuff in terms of our distribution footprint. We've been able to cover the most remote parts of the country to ensure that people get a Coke within 24 hours of ordering. You know, so we've done some amazing stuff. In the process, you create employment, you create empowerment for people. But one of the biggest things that I set for myself has been, I want to contribute to my country through the special field that I'm in. I want to make a difference. Where possible, we need to create employment within the organization. We need to create employment in the communities in which we operate, because it is those communities that give us license to trade. And more, to create a South Africa that is representative of all South Africans. And to that fact, it's the Africans and colors in our area that have been underrepresented. And we've gone out of our way to make sure that we bring enough of the talented Africans and colors and the rest of the black communities, their white counterparts. In fact, we've driven the women agenda. We moved from around 30% to under 30% representation of women in our leadership ranks. Today we are at 52%, and most of them are black. So very proud of those achievements that we as a team have achieved, and it's about the team that I put together to work with needs. I can't do this alone. We've got to do this as a collective. And as a result, I won that Standard Bank Male Gender Empowerment Award 3 times in a row.
Amazing.
So very proud of that. But the work is never finished, you know, so we need to continue. We need to be a private company that has got conscience that reflects South Africa in its true sense.
You know, Bavi, I'm very keen to find out from you about, you know, the woman agenda that you have driven, because there are many of your counterparts in leadership in all corners of society, not just in Africa, literally throughout the world, who haven't been conscientized to possibly the unique and deliberate effort that it might take to bring women on board. I'm keen to find out what that deliberate effort looks like. Is it a matter of saying, for instance, we must have a working condition that understands that women are mothers, or is it making sure that we say that when we're hiring for a role, we must make sure that we consider women? What does it look like to be intentional from a leadership perspective in bringing women on board?
Firstly, Nolutando, I want to say I've made this thing like a personal thing. I'm married to a woman. I've got 3 children. 2 of them are girls. I've got a grandchild, daughter. I would hate any of them never to reach their full potential just because they are women. I'll feel very bad about it. And we as a society, we come from an environment of discrimination. We cannot perpetuate it when women are more than 50% of the society. And God has given all of us equal talents. You know, there are amazing women. You just have to look for them. And so, particularly in the so-called hard areas of engineering and all of that sort. And by the way, as corporate, we need to invest deliberately to bring women in these fields of logistics, engineering, and so forth. To that extent, we are supporting, for example, women graduates that are doing engineering at University of Pretoria. But we have been quite deliberate to recruit to retain through the culture, that one of the biggest issues that make people not stay is because they find the culture, whilst there are policies that are written and everything properly written, but people find the culture that is repugnant, repelling to what they expect from an inclusive organization. So we've tried to create that inclusive environment so that women can feel at home. So they get, recently our head of logistics, managing over 1,000 moving equipment, trucks, trailers, forklifts, was a black woman. She's been appointed MD of Coca-Cola in Ghana. Yes. Flora from Netherlands. I just wish that, and there's many of them. Sometimes the problem with us corporates and leaders, we want ready-made. We don't want to build our own timber.
I must also ask you, Bravi, about, just leading with a development mentality in South Africa, where maybe we're finally able to admit that we are a bit of a developmental state here, that we have to do the work of development. And maybe even, being in boardrooms and having to motivate for taking a development route when profit is often the main aim of the game. It's actually why the private sector exists. It's to increase shareholder value. It really is about profits. Is there a tactful way to lobby for development in organizations where development is not top of mind?
Yeah, look, for me, development by private sector, it's actually a business imperative.
Okay.
If we are going to leave everything to happen through government, I think we'll wait a long time. We'll wait forever. Businesses thrive in an environment of stability, of growth, and unfortunately, when you create an unequal society, even within your workforce, you are saying you are not for stability. People in a society must see their children, their grandchildren, being given opportunities, either of employment, of being suppliers, or being customers by corporate South Africa. Then communities will embrace corporate, and we will have a very stable environment. Otherwise, the riots that we saw recently are going to be a feature that is with us. And if we do nothing, we mustn't complain. If we do nothing and just look at making the bottom line only, without any conscience, then let's not complain when things go bad. We've got to not fold our arms. We've got to roll our sleeves and play an active role. That's why we've got a program, for example, called Business in a Box. I think we've got 400 youngsters. We've trained almost 10,000 of them, but 400 of them to 500, we've given them opportunities, trained them, and given them businesses that are set up that they can run and make a living for their families. And these people, we're encouraging them to say, move from one store and have 2 stores, have 3 stores, have 5 stores. So that, it doesn't help for us to have youngsters that are fighting that they are foreigners, but without taking opportunities. We've got to encourage youngsters to be active in the economy of the society, and we can only do that if we are closer to them as business.
I must also ask you, Bravi, about maybe the current state of South Africa from your perspective. You are a leader in this economy. You've worked in this economy, from the bottom all the way up. You've seen what this economy can produce. As we look at the economy right now, we don't see ourselves in the best possible shape. What are we getting wrong from your perspective here?
Yeah. Look, I do sometimes, and I don't like criticizing the government because it's not my place. But I do think that we are quick sometimes to adopt policies that we get that are almost Eurocentric. that we get to implement here that are not suited for environment, nor do we have capacity to enforce and make sure that they take place. The second part that I will raise and challenge is that in many aspects within government, there's conflicting messages from different departments. There's no coherent way that says, yes, unemployment is a big issue, driving small business, it's a big opportunity that we've got to drive. So you've got one department or some departments doing this, whilst the other departments are doing exactly the same thing. And the third thing, which is very big, there's a very big mistrust between corporate and government. And we need to find a way to bridge the divide so that we are more powerful when we are united, not when we point fingers on to each other.
Gotcha. I'm also keen then to find out about leading through load shedding. Bravi, this is a spanner in the works of all South Africans. What has that been like, as a leader, making sure that, you're capacitated as Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa, but then also looking at your whole ecosystem and how, you sell beverages that are supposed to be cold when people buy them. And that's obviously, a complication when there's no electricity.
Yeah, Lutanda, this has been a big challenge, I think, for all of us. One of the things that I've done recently is I brought leaders in the FMCG space or technical leaders together to say, guys, let's put our hands together, not just for Coke, but it could be for other businesses and so forth. Let's learn from each other as to what we can do. And it seems to be going well, the learnings from other corporates. I mean, if you look at the first quarter this year, our diesel usage, it's 15 times of what it was last year. 15 times. It's just staggering the amount, and the impact. And it's not only the diesel usage. Sometimes the production lines that we've got are so sensitive that if there's a sudden surge, it may trip and may damage a number of machines. So we've got solars in a lot of our big warehouse areas. But, I often say to our people, we've got for example, one of our big manufacturing site and our head office in South Africa, it's here in Midrand. It's good that we've got water and we've got the infrastructure and the facilities. But if people next door in Tembisa don't have electricity, it's a big challenge. So we've got to think beyond the sense of our premises as to how we operate. But if you look at our value chain process, it doesn't also help that I've got electricity through generators and if my suppliers don't have space, because I want to have raw material. And if my customers do not have cold beverages, it becomes very difficult consumers. So it is affecting inside our factories, upstream and downstream, it's affecting us. This load shedding. It's load shedding and the water challenges that we've got. Those are the two things that give me a nightmare.
I'm wondering, Bravi, when you are up and you're worried about these aspects, the people that you then who report into you that you support, the ability to even assure them that there is a future. And I think it's one of those things that many of the CEOs and the leaders I've spoken to right now are speaking about, just low morale within companies because of these macroeconomic challenges that are making their way into the way workers show up, to the workforce, high interest rates, water, electricity issues. Is there a way to lead in a time of crisis? I imagine also in COVID-19, there's also a way to lead people when they're scared that they might lose their lives, that they might lose their jobs, that their loved ones might also suffer the same fate.
Yeah, I think fortunately, we've operated in volatile times for a number of years. I don't know if you recall when pre the 94 elections, how people were stocking up tin stuff and so forth because they thought South Africa was going to come to an end. So the biggest thing is when things are tough, people want to see their leaders on the ground, not in the ivory tower offices, sending emails and proxies, and quite frankly, even Zooms and Teams don't work. So it's to spend time visiting the facilities, visiting the customers, visiting the suppliers, and spending with them, and indicate to them that we do have a plan. It may not be perfect, but we do have a plan. And the biggest issue is the capacity to execute that particular plan. But people want, when in times of crisis, people want their leaders next to them to reassure them, to reaffirm them, and to experience the same challenges as what they are doing.
Very true, Bravi. I must agree with you there. We do have a caller. Phil from Waterkloof would like to weigh in on our conversation this evening. Bravi, Phil, good evening. Thank you so much for your call.
Good evening, Lutando, and good evening to my learned guests. You know, the Coca-Cola is a brand that has been there from before we were born. And I think in order to address the present day and to be situational, they must address the present day situations by embarking on what Dr. Phil will call the disruptive, empowering solutions to the present needs. You know, I think that has been, I've imitated that from one of the dons of the Harvard University by Magalbay Christenberg with his concept of disruptive empowerment. You have rural people who don't have electricity. You've got rural people who are customers of Coca-Cola who do not have water. You don't need to build a sea there or whatever. Just by building a well there, just by building a generator there, you shall have addressed all the needs of about 100 people there who are sharing into the we need a private sector partnership when it comes to the provision of education, where there are some children who are not covered by NFSAS. Why don't we come with something that is between NFSAS and not having anything, where Coca-Cola will be saying that in the community that we are saving, we are giving 1,000 to each and every child who will be in trade, just to be situational and be addressing issues and not on the issue of electricity and whatever. Private practice between government and Coca-Cola or private sector. I know that private sector during the fourth quarter of the 2020 they've shed the most jobs, but we need to be addressing this out of 1,000 and people who are unemployed. Coca-Cola can come up with means to say that out of the things that have collected, will be able to provide just to mitigate, come a sort of an assessment on the issues of unemployment. And God bless you and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Phil. Bravi, I wonder if you'd like to weigh in on that. You know, Phil sharing that the private sector should be more intentional in bringing people along. I'm wondering if that's possible. Like we said, the private sector is largely here to, maximize shareholder value. It is a balancing act that needs to be struck.
I think, is it Paul that spoke?
It's Phil.
Yes, very good point that you made. Let me just reference on the water situation. It's right, the water is particularly scarce in the rural areas, particularly your Hammanskraal areas, your Polokwane, Limpopo area, and your Eastern Cape and some of the Free State area. And in all of those areas that I'm mentioning, including KZN, we have put a very sophisticated, and a number of them, and it's our flagship water program. We call it the Codeville, where we drill boreholes, we put generators, we do in community center areas, And Paul is right. Communities appreciate it, and they feel that we make a difference in an area where, like in a school or public area where it's got access to a number of people instead of just one family or so forth. That's what we do a lot. And of course, I told you about the business in a box. We do it particularly in townships and rural areas. But it will be wrong for me to create impression that we can solve the problems of South Africa as Coca-Cola. No, we can't, but we are proudly contributing our best every day.
Thank you so much, Bra V, for that response. But before I let you go, we are unfortunately out of time. I must just ask you, what you imagine for South Africa as a leader who has served for some time. I'm sure you have dreams about what will eventually become of this beautiful country of ours that is currently going through many, many, many challenges.
Look, it's a pity that there is so much negativity about our country, within our country, by ourselves. Mm-hmm. My hope is that we can create a South Africa that is truly inclusive of every South African, but that is working and successful and able to compete with other countries whilst we give back to society, reflecting our true South Africanness. To show, Ubuntu. But at the heart of it, we've got to be successful in our enterprises. We've got to have a clean government. We've got to have a hardworking workforce, whether civil or private. People must be hardworking. I'm about to retire, I'm very old. Mm-hmm. And I've never come across a death certificate saying the cause of death is hard work. I've never. That's what we need to inculcate among our people and young people and government people.
Well, Bravi, it's been a pleasure having you with us this evening. Most importantly, hearing your thoughts, your life story, and even, your dreams for the way the South African country can still develop itself and go. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence this evening.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is Velaphi Ratshefola. He is the Managing Director of Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa in our Power Suit segment this evening. That is where we wrap things up with Power Business. I'd like to thank my producers, Hleketani Matebola, Snetemba Julia, and Mokhesi, who left earlier, for always holding us down on the production front. Nomusa Zwane is indeed ready with Power News. Denzel Taylor walking towards the studio to take over this mic. I am Nolutando Mtondi Mlambo. Have a great evening further.
Power Business is proudly brought to you by ABSA. We do more so you can. That's Africanacity.
Power News.